right, guys, we're back. If you got to hang out with the boys before this, awesome. But now come join us. Leave them. They're done. Come hang out with us, girls. Sarabeth Jumper, you know her, you love her, and I'm just grateful that you're willing to come and chat with me about mom stuff and being a mom. And I really want to pick your brain about your babies and birth and how you knew and what you learned. And so, but first of all, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
Life
good.
life is crazy as usual, but
Yeah.
with 3 little kids, but it's wonderful at
Oh
the
my
same time.
goodness.
Yeah.
Do you miss the chaos? Like, do you and your husband ever get to go like away by yourself? And if you do you miss the chaos and the noise, even though there are days where you're like, oh my God, I just want everybody to be quiet?
We don't get away, partly my fault, too. I feel like we're like a little wolf pack and we, like, stay
Yeah.
together and we do everything together, and they're just so young right now, 4, 2, and 9
Mm.
9 months, almost 10 months,
Mhm.
but, yeah, like and we just said we're like, at this season of life, like, we're doing everything together, but there
Yeah.
are days where I'm like, "I really could use a break."
Mhm.
Um, but, when we do go to dinner or something when we can get away, we end up talking about them, and we do miss the I just know we're like, as much as I want a break, I really try to remember that, like, we're gonna miss this, you know, like, the hard no, you're not gonna miss that, but, like, these are the days where, like,
Yeah.
we are gonna look back and be like, "This was amazing times." These were amazing times, even as hard as it can be some days.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a woman at the gym. Hi guys. Um, I had a conversation with a woman at the gym, and we just, talking about kids and stuff like that. And she talks about how she, travels with her husband and has left her kids with family and friends and all type of stuff. And, I just made the comment. I was like, my wife and I have never left our kid. If
Mhm.
I travel with him. And usually we're leaving Garrett home because
Mhm.
she's got to work, but we'll go up
Right.
and see my family, go spend the holidays up there sometimes, go sneak away for a quick little, vacation away. And the woman looked at me like I was crazy, and she's like, "How have you not left?" And I was like, "Because I like being with my kid. Like, I really
Yes.
enjoy being with my kid, even on the difficult days, even on the days where, every time you ask him to do something, he doesn't do it, or it takes 100 times for him to do something." I'm like, "I just like being with my kid, and I enjoy being with my wife." But you don't hear that so much anymore.
No.
You hear that it's more of a desire to get away from your
Right.
family than it is to stay with your family. Do you hear that a lot too?
Oh, for sure. I think that's a big problem that's kind of crept into society too, is that this need to, like, always have a break or, um, like, be outsource or be away from our children.
Mhm.
And yeah, I genuinely like love to be around my children, and like the thought of being away from them or someone else caring for them like gives
Yeah.
me severe anxiety.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
yeah,
For
yeah, yeah.
sure.
And on top of the fact that I love being with them and I love
Mhm.
like interacting with them every day. Like I said, as hard as it can be some
Mhm.
days, all of that joy that you get from being a mother, like, it just completely overrides, any of the hardship, I would
Yeah.
feel like, and I do think that that's God's design too. Like,
Mhm.
we are supposed to raise and nurture our children and be there for them every step of the way.
Right.
Not to say, like, you couldn't have a break or go away for a long weekend, but, like, this constant outsourcing of, like, raising other people raising your children, I think that's, like, not in God's design, and
Mhm.
so, to me, when we have a society set up like that, like, it goes awry. It can go awry quickly, or things or you can feel wrong as a mother. I feel like that can kinda come up because I think we're supposed to be around our children. Like, we're
Right.
supposed to love them and care for them and nurture them and, all that.
Yeah, and I obviously there's situations where moms can't,
Oh, right,
being
absolutely, yeah.
right. And so there's
Mhm.
understanding and there's empathy and there's, grace with that kind of stuff because not everybody can. My mom was a single mom and she worked as many jobs as she needed to work and she was more outside of the
Absolutely.
house than she was inside the house. And I think that there's this misconception that there's judgment when things need to be done just to make ends meet. And, so
Yes.
if women are having children or relationships fall apart and they are responsible for their children, and women have to go to work, they have to provide for their children, they end up being in that double role as, people like to say the role of the husband or this, the non-birth mom, or, the role of the mom, and, all this
Yes.
type of stuff. And so there's no judgment on things needing
No,
to be
no,
done as they
absolutely.
need to
Yeah.
be done. But what you're saying, and what I hear a lot of people saying, is that if you're given the gift of being able to stay home,
Hmm.
there's still taboo around that gift of being able to stay home.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
I know that, for you, your faith is a very big part of,
Hmm.
what you believe and how you feel and how you run your life and how you move through life, you know, and that doesn't mean that it's anti somebody else. It's just
No.
your belief and your strong faith of, as mom, I get to raise my
Yes.
children.
Yeah.
And, I've learned that through, the gift that Garrett has given. Her job is, more centered and more grounded, and it is what it is. And, my job, I'm given the freedom to be able to meet clients when I meet them, but I'm absolutely the
Hmm.
prime parent of running around and making sure that he gets everything that he needs. And that was very difficult for me to understand for a long time, because growing up, I was like, no, the only way that I can provide and be a great mom is to be busy and be out of the house and making
Right.
money and bringing that kind of stuff in. And that's taken time to really adjust my thinking of, yeah, that could be part of it, but the most
Oh, yeah.
important part is being with my kid.
Oh, right. I mean, and I waited till I was like 34 to have children. And
Mhm.
I always knew that I would, but I was very driven. Like, I'm going to be a doctor. Like, nothing's going to stop me. And I'm going
Yeah.
to be this working mom. But I don't think, like, I feel like I had all these ambitions growing up, and I never really realized that, like, um, motherhood would be my highest calling, you
Mhm.
know? And so it was a huge shift in this, like, once I became a mother, that it was like, oh no, to me, none of that mattered as much as like being a mother and
Mhm.
raising my children. And I think hats off to the working moms and that are out there slinging it, and also at
Yeah.
home, because I know like that is so hard as well. And but I, like I said, I never thought like I would be a stay-at-home mom and like have that opportunity, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, me
Um,
neither.
so
Me neither.
it was a huge shift of mindset when I was, in my 30s. Here I am in it, and it's still sometimes like I wake up and I'm like, I'm 38 and I have 3 kids, and oh my
Mhm.
goodness.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's so much joy, but at the same time it's like, whoa, like, and yeah, I think a lot of it has changed since I've had children, and my mind and everything.
The real Matthew, only strong men can support a strong woman when she decides or makes the choice of being a stay-at-home mom. That is very interesting, because it's tr it's
Yeah.
true. Like,
Hmm.
it's true, not every partner, and I'll say partner because obviously I'm married to a woman, so not every partner is okay with the
Right.
other spouse staying home, because then it does
Hmm.
really fall on the providing partner, whether it's a husband, for me, it's Garrett, that feeling of like they're doing everything. And so
Hmm.
no, it's okay, Matthew. It's all good. Partner, my bad. No, it's all good.
Yeah.
um, I knew what you meant.
Yes.
But it's the pressure that they feel, but it's
Hmm.
also the pressure that we feel. Cause I'm sure that there's times, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but I've been like, she's doing everything. I should be
Hmm.
doing something. And
Oh, for sure.
we devalue our place in the home. We devalue all of the goodness and all of the quote unquote jobs that we do in the house, making sure that the house runs, the kids good, that
Yep.
she's good, for you, make sure your husband's good.
Hmm.
We do the appointments.
Yes.
There's the grocery shopping and the laundry and the clean house, and if you've got pets, like, we do all of those things, and for some reason we're told that that's not enough. Do you
Right.
feel like it's the noise of society and this detach or this judgment around stay-at-home moms?
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I especially early on, I really struggled with it because I felt like, oh, I should be working, I should be providing for my family, like I should be bringing in money, like
Yeah.
that would help us. And not that like, my husband has supported me and it's been great, and not that we like absolutely need the money, but it's just I guess it's just the way I was raised, and like the societal pressures, I guess, that are put out there, like go and get a degree and you work, and that's how you're successful, like your
Mm,
personal accomplishments. But I think like I was saying, like this total shift as I've become a mother, and I feel like through other mothers that I've learned from, like older mothers, and some authors that I really love that have like spoken almost like God's word over me, like saying like this is God's design for you, and there's no greater calling than being a mother,
mm,
and there's no higher purpose from the Lord, that we are raising like eternal souls, and no, you will carry nothing to heaven with you, like you will stand before the Lord with nothing else on this earth matters, but their soul matters. And like what better purpose than to be raising souls, for the glory of God. When we stand before the Lord, like their soul will be the only thing that's carried on as well. So it's been that like shift in mindset, and like what the Lord has spoken over me, and like you're doing my work. You are here to do my work and to raise these souls and to pour into them. And it's just been, and so like I can rest in that purpose
mhm.
versus like be floundering and thinking like, oh, well, I have this nurse practitioner degree and I should be out there and I should be doing this. But you know what? That is always waiting for me as long as I'm on this earth.
Right.
But my children will only be this age
For
and
so
have
long.
this for so
Mhm,
long and have this
mhm.
day,
Yeah.
which, you're replaceable at your job, like, tomorrow. So, but I'm
Tomorrow, they're
yeah,
replacing you today when you're still
yeah,
at
right.
work,
Right,
and
and you will never be replaceable at home. You will never be able to be replaceable at home, and
yeah.
that's so important.
Colleen's big jug.
Oh
So there
God.
so I always have a big water. I don't have my Yeti with me today, but
Yeah.
okay. Well, hello, Colleen's big jug. Nice of you to join us. Did you
Mm,
feel pressure from society to not be a stay-at-home mom? Yes, I did. I absolutely did. And I still do, very much like you're saying. Um, but I love what you say is that there's no bigger accomplishment or proof of success than being a mother and raising a
mhm,
children or raising a child or
mhm,
children. And for so long, and I think that that's still the struggle and the challenge within the conversation around women and women being mothers, and this kind of idea is that the only way you can be successful is with a career.
right.
You can only be successful by how many figures you can stand on. And
Mhm,
that idea of success as a mother is diminished now because we don't identify and we don't categorize success the same way. And
right.
I think that that has to do a lot with women having children on their own and not given the support that they need to be able to be at home. I also
Right.
think that society constantly criticizes stay-at-home mothers and says, "You're not, as crazy as it sounds, you're not contributing to society because you're choosing to stay home." What do you
Right.
mean I'm not contributing? I'm literally contributing the most important thing to society, which
Mhm.
is raising a child that will someday be an adult. So how am
Yes.
I not able to contribute to society when I'm doing the very thing that is the thing for society, you
Yeah, I
know?
think yeah, I think that was, I don't know, I guess it's like in our generation that we were raised up in, and I don't know where like it shifted to that from,
Mhm.
100 years ago, where the mothers did, I mean, most of them weren't working and were staying home.
Yeah.
Um, and this shift to, oh, like it's bad to be, you're not working, like what are you doing all day?
Yeah, they
Or
paint
yeah.
us they paint the picture like we're
Yeah.
not doing anything. Like,
Yeah.
because God forbid we sit down for 20 minutes and scroll on our phone or read a book or
Mhm.
watch a TV show or listen to a podcast, and we're just sitting around and not doing anything. But you don't understand. Like, Gara and I were talking about this the other day. She's like, you never stop. Like,
Right.
you always
No.
are doing something, because if school sends a message, I answer the school. If an appointment comes up, a reminder for him, or I'm like, "Oh shit, I have to," he has an appointment, she has an appointment, I have an appointment. I need to make sure that I'm confirming everything, and it never stops.
No.
But if we stop for 2 minutes, or we go enjoy ourselves, and say you and I lived closer and we went out and had a dinner,
Mhm.
or a lunch, a fucking coffee for 2 seconds, all of a sudden we're not doing anything. We're not contributing anything,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, it's just it's kind of like I said, it's just backwards to the way, like, I feel like we were originally designed.
Mhm.
And um it's isolating at times. I know I mentioned that in the
Yeah.
past, and
Yeah.
I do feel like lonely some days, but it's reassuring to hear, like, in these hunter gatherer societies, that where, like, you had these villages of families that would live together, or a long time ago, but um there would be, families with like 10 kids or 7 to
Yeah.
10 kids.
Mhm.
But I read somewhere that at any given day, these kids would have up to 10 different caregivers, and not just caregivers, but like other mothers.
Yeah.
So they lived in these societies to, like, and they would feed off each other and help each other.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's too why it can be hard for, like, stay-at-home moms as well, and mothers in general, because it can be isolating, like, and we do it to ourselves, but at the same time, like, we were never called to do it alone.
Yeah.
And these societies had mother and grandmother living in the
Yep.
same house.
Yep.
So you had constant help, grandmother, great grandmother, even sometimes, like,
Yeah.
constant help from these elders.
Aunts,
Mhm.
cousins,
Yes,
older
aunts, cousins.
siblings. Yeah.
They all lived in the house together.
Yeah.
So it was, and in these communities, and these women were the ones that were teaching the children, and that
Yep.
were teaching them school, and
They
all
were
these things.
also
So,
giving the
mhm.
mother the break that she needed. And
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I hear
Mhm.
I hear stories where it's like, in some families, even to today, there's tradition that the mother does nothing but rest and feed the child after the child is born. And how
Right.
many stories and how many households do you hear that is actually something that happens? And I agree with you. I think we do it
Yes.
to ourselves. I think that
Mhm.
we feel, and I did after, I had Garrett, is that I felt this pressure and this desire and
Yeah.
this need to do everything.
Yes.
Again, it goes back to my wife is giving me this gift of being able to stay home with our kid after he's born. So I'm supposed
Mhm.
to be doing all of this stuff. I'm obviously feeding the child, because breastfeeding was a very important thing for me, was to breastfeed
Yes.
him. I didn't want any
Yes.
formula for him to have. And I was going to work my ass off until somebody was like,
Mhm.
your baby is so malnourished that you need some help. But I mean,
Right.
I was fighting, and him and I were fighting, and we did that for each other, with each
Yes.
other. Um, but you just don't hear from, again, society, and everyone's like, stop listening to people. But it's very difficult when you have constant society, and we do it to ourselves. We're on social media way too much. We're watching things way too much that are telling us what we
Mhm.
should do and what we shouldn't do. But we also don't give ourselves permission to just be moms,
Right.
and we
Yes.
don't nurture each other. I
Right.
say we eat our
Mhm.
own, and mothers can be
Mhm.
the worst to each other.
Yes. Yeah, I even saw a post, like, recently, that was like, "It's okay if you don't have a brand new house and everything is put together and everything is new and everything is organized." And it
Yeah.
just, like, some of those posts like that are just absolutely real. You're just like, "Oh, yeah, like, let me just turn social media off
Yep.
and, like, just sit down or, like, enjoy my kids,
Yep.
enjoy what's right in front of me, and not, like, look at this fairy tale of, like, what's happening in the world, because that's not real."
Right.
I'm glad it's real for, like, these certain influencers, but, it's not real life, and just take some
Mhm.
pressure off and just take a deep breath, and it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Well, one of the things I really wanted to, and we kinda started to talk, oh, hold
Yeah.
on, right here. Do you feel like your spouses give you the breaks that you need? Oh, that's a really good question. I think I think in my situation, I think that when I allowed Garrett to support me and give me breaks,
Right. Yeah.
she was absolutely right there for me every step of every break that
Hmm.
I needed. And honestly, sometimes, well, not sometimes, more times than not, encouraged me to go take breaks. Like she would
Yes. Yeah.
kick me out and say, go, please go do something. I don't care if you're gone. Take the long way around. Don't go just to one place and come back. Like
Right.
go for a ride, go down to the beach, go do something. So I think, I think in my situation, I think that when I gave Garrett the opportunity to support me, she absolutely supported me whenever I needed her to. What about
Yes,
you?
I'm at my own detriment as well. Like I will be like someone swimming in the water, drowning
Mhm.
with 5 babies.
And a
And
life
like
vest right there,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
don't
I'm
pick
like
up the life
yeah,
vest. Yeah.
right. And somebody's like, "And can I help you?" And you're just like, "Yes, please." But
Yeah.
that's me. Yeah, but my husband is amazing. Like he of
Mhm.
course he's out there, but as soon as he's home, he's like, he's out working, but like as soon as he's home, like he's, all on it. And I would just say like perfect team. And I'm so thankful for him and like his support and just like being there. But at the same time, like there's certain times where he's like, if you would just communicate with me a little better. And so that's at my detriment as well, like I say, because I'm like drowning, but like I could just say, like, hey, will you please do the XYZ?
Yeah.
I feel like we just want them to get it, but like they don't sometimes. So if I laid it out, he's like more than happy to like, do whatever I need. But like and like I said, it can be my fault, but he's so great and supportive. And um back to the child, like when you have a baby,
Yeah.
so I felt like I jumped up after this third one and was like trying to make meals and just trying to make the house work too, because you've got these little babies that need you as well on top of your
Yeah.
newborn.
Mhm.
But I told my husband, I was like, if we do this again, someone's coming to live with us, and
Mm.
I'm not rushing back. Like I want at least like 2 weeks where I can just breathe or something.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, it's my fault for trying to be everything for everyone. And we do that, but I just know now, like, I can't do that to myself. Like for my peace and my
Mm.
sanity, like I
Yeah.
need to like slow down and just breathe and focus on baby, like the
Yeah.
baby. Um, and just have extra hands. But and I feel like God has put it on my heart. Like I need the community. I need community right now. Like I need friends, and I need to reach. But He's not gonna like place it in my hands. Like I need to seek this out. And I need other mothers to not commiserate with, but also like lean on. But
Mhm.
also, I just need to ask for help. I need to ask for
Yes.
community. And like
Yes.
he's not going to do it for me, but he's really like placed that on my heart lately. Like there are so many other people that you can lean on, and just for a word of encouragement, or and just to bounce ideas off of, or just to make sure like you're not actually going insane every day.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, like you're not supposed to do this alone. And that includes like, yes, he's always with me, but at the same
Mhm.
time, like we were never called to do this motherhood gig alone.
Yeah.
And like we do need other mothers. We do need our elders. We do need people that we can call on. And if even if it's just a word of encouragement every day.
Yeah, to hear
So,
that you're not alone, I think is one of the most powerful messages that you
mhm,
can have and can hear, and I think we just don't give ourselves permission to do a lot of things. I don't think we give
mhm,
ourselves permission to communicate. I don't think we give ourselves permission to ask questions. I don't think that we give ourselves permission to challenge beliefs or challenge certain things. And, one of the many reasons that I really wanted to invite you to come and talk today
Mhm.
is because of your strength when it came to your birthing processes and what you
Yeah.
felt was very important to you and how you
Mhm.
had the courage enough to say, you know what? This is what I believe. This is what I feel. I'm not saying
Mhm.
that if I need emergency something that I'm not willing to lean onto that, but what I'm
Mhm.
saying is that I'm going to question, I'm going to challenge, and I'm going to really hold truth to my beliefs when it comes to my birthing process for each one of my children.
Right.
Did you have, and remind me, like, did you have the same birthing process for each one, or the like the
No.
goal for each one? And then how did
No.
they
Yeah.
come? Yeah.
So, when my first pregnancy, I was nurse practitioner working like I would say in the medical system.
Mhm.
And I knew about birth and I knew I wanted like a natural birth, but like I knew I would birth in the hospital
Mhm.
and I just kind of went down that traditional route. And
So
it
so
was
you
dur-
never, oh, sorry, I didn't mean, so you
go ahead,
never,
no, no.
you didn't
Mhm.
start to question anything because you had gotten your degree and you were in the
Mhm.
medical field and you trusted because you went through the process and you believed
Yeah,
everything that it was, and there was no question, there was no fear, there was no anything in that first one
no.
because you followed tradition, you followed what
Yeah.
has always shown to be, from what they say, safe, and this is the only way.
Right. Yeah. And
Mm,
OBGYN's like, okay, let not that to say that we shouldn't trust them, but like they, are the experts in this. And I
mhm,
wasn't trained in like I had a little bit of obstetric training, but like we didn't really go down that whole path in school. So
mhm.
it was I just trusted the experts to, lead me in the right way.
Yep.
And it was during COVID. I trusted that everything would be okay. And then I hurt my back towards I had already, previous back injuries.
Yep,
So
yep.
I felt like I re-herniated at about 34 weeks,
Okay.
my back, and put me, when I
Out.
say flat on my back,
Mhm.
I'm upright. I work out every day. Like
Yes.
it is, and so that put me like flat on my back because like any other position was just extremely painful, like had sciatic pain, and
Mhm, mhm.
down my leg. And so basically, because I wasn't working out, I lost about 10 pounds at that time. Well,
Okay.
when I eventually went back to the doctor at like 35 weeks, they flipped out that, here I am, I've only gained like 5 pounds through pregnancy. Well, I'm
Mhm.
tiny, like I'm five
Yeah,
one, like I'm
yeah.
really little. And I'd only gained like 10 pounds at that point. But I'm like,
Mhm.
I, it's muscle, I promise. I'm
Like,
like,
I work out a lot, and I worked out a
yeah,
lot before I got pregnant. Like, my
yes,
body holds a lot of muscle, like,
yeah,
and I know it's muscle because I've been
yeah.
flat on my ass for, however
Hmm.
long you had been there. Yeah.
When they started doing ultrasounds, and they, which I know better now, if they go looking, you're gonna find things,
They're gonna
you know.
find something.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
gonna find something. And I know now, not to say that you shouldn't have a late third trimester ultrasound.
Mhm.
But if they go looking and prodding and poking, they're gonna try to find something. So they said I had low fluid. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not classically great at the time, I wasn't classically great at drinking water. So I just went home and chugged and, tried to up my water intake and everything. And then every week they wanted to do these ultrasounds and they kept saying low fluid, low fluid.
Mhm.
And towards the end, like, I think I was like 37.5. And he said, I want you to come back next Monday and I want you to be NPO, nothing by mouth, and we're gonna do an ultrasound at 8 a.m. and I was like, wait. I know what that means. That if you want me be nothing by mouth, that means you want me to have a C-section.
Yeah, you're
Like
planning for a C-section.
you're planning for a C-section.
Yes.
And like this is a week away. I'm like, anything could happen. And like if like why are we jumping? We're jumping straight to a C-section? Like
Right.
what like where is this,
And if we are, why are we waiting a
Mhm.
week?
Right,
Like
exactly.
if
Yeah,
the fear is that C-section is on the horizon,
mhm,
why are we waiting a week? Why am I not admitted? Why am I not
exactly.
admitted and monitored from this day
Yeah,
until that if you want to give it a week, okay,
yeah,
fine to see what happens, but why are we jumping there without
right.
support for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely, yeah, crazy. So, I chugged water again that week, and then I
Mhm.
showed up, and I should have said, "Hey, like, let's measure my fluid at 3 p.m." Because
Yeah.
that's
Give me a
because
chance.
you're
Like
if and I know now it fluctuates completely, and you're constantly regenerating. And like everything in me told me he was fine. Like baby, like everything in me told me he was fine. But I showed up, of course, I still had low fluid, and they did like a non-stress test. That was fine. But like on his ultrasound, like he didn't take a breath within or like practice breathe
okay.
within the 30-minute ultrasound.
Mhm.
And I had a cervical check. They had been checked, and I was closed, and he was high. Now, granted, I'm still on my back. Okay,
Right.
so gravity's not even helping me at this point,
Yeah.
and I'm just now getting to the point where I'm like not in pain, so I'm not like I'm upright a little bit more.
Mhm.
And but anyways, it was just a bunch of fear mongering, and
Yep.
he said, "I've seen people come in and their baby's dead in 24 hours." Yeah. So,
Mhm. So what
what
response
are
do you
you supposed
think
to
you're
do?
right.
Yeah. Like, of
Mhm.
course, I'm going to be like, okay, cut me open. Like,
Hand me
yeah.
the knife, I'll cut myself open.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah. Yep.
So basically, we showed up, and I just not knowing, I don't know anything. I didn't know anything,
Yeah.
that I know now.
Yeah.
So as soon as it was over, it just ate at me like so bad. Okay. And I as most people can probably obsess about things, but when I say like I don't know if God put it on my heart, but I was just obsessed with like birthing and like the birth
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
And it just opened up Pandora's box.
Mhm.
And I just realized, okay, and this physician is really close to my family. Like I feel like he kind of treated me like a daughter, and it was like too close for comfort. Like, and he's my father's age, and like um just he didn't feel good. Him and my father are physicians together, so it's like
Yep.
he wanted the baby in the bassinet, and he wanted everything his hands to be, you know and he wanted to shut this book and move on
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not have anything on his hands if
Yeah.
say if say something were to happen.
Mm.
And I definitely believe, like, that God had me go through that for a reason, but at the same time, it was like honestly devastating that,
Devastating, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. So fast forward, and I'm in the birth, like I'm down the rabbit hole. I'm listening to all the birth podcasts. Anything to do with VBAC, like vaginal birth after cesarean, like I was
Yeah.
listening to that, and I was thinking like, okay, when we do this again, like I'm gonna have a VBAC, and this is it. And basically, the laws around VBACs are not laws. Like you can have a VBAC, but
Mhm.
the OBs are not very favorable,
They're not fans
especially
of it. Yeah.
no. And because there's this risk of uterine rupture, which you have a uterine rupture risk as a first
Mhm.
time mother, like even if your
Mm.
uterus is not cut open. So
Mm. But
I
they're selling it like you have a
mhm,
higher risk of rupture because you've already had a C-section.
yeah, and which you do, but it's still less than 1%.
Mm.
So it's less than 1% chance that that could happen.
Mhm.
And so, but they want to frame it as like, oh, it could happen, and it could, like,
Yeah.
it could happen. But like I
Mhm.
said, first time mom still has a small chance of uterine rupture. Um, and I'm not to downplay anyone that's had that happen. It can be devastating, but like, what if we just said you have a 99.2% chance of it going right? That's a little different conversation. And
It's a little
so,
bit more welcoming,
yeah,
less
right.
fear-based,
But
very
it's
much
all
so yeah.
fear-based.
Mm.
It's
Oh my god,
all
yeah.
fear-based.
Yep.
So, I just knew, like, I felt like when Jack was like 6 months old, I was like, I've got to get pregnant again. But it takes, like, I know that now, like my body, when I'm breastfeeding, it just takes a while for and I think natural family planning, like as
Yeah.
I'm breastfeeding, like for my period to come back and for us to try to get pregnant again. And so, we got pregnant again. I was like, yes, I'm going to do this. And at 18 weeks, I started bleeding. And so I was like, well, of course I'm freaking out, but I had a
Yeah.
Doppler. I'd had a Doppler at home. I knew, baby had a heartbeat and everything was okay. So I called I called this same doctor, which it was comical at the time that I went back to the same doctor, but, and they had me for an ultrasound. They found that I had a placenta previa, and it was almost like completely blocking my cervix, but still like not fully a full placenta previa, but they can bleed. And that if you have had a prior cesarean, that puts you at a very increased risk for having a placenta previa. So in my mind, I cannot get away from the fact that my first birth caused this.
Yeah.
And a placenta previa is where your placenta attaches lower in your cervix or completely covering your cervix.
Okay.
So you kind of want your placenta up higher or out of the way, like towards the top of your uterus.
Yeah.
And it's become a thing because at the 20-week ultrasound, they can be like, oh, you've got a low lying placenta. But the majority of the time, as your uterus expands and grows,
It moves.
It moves out of the way.
It shifts.
So,
Yeah. Our
yes.
kids are shifting all the time in the stomach.
Right.
So it makes
Yeah.
sense that that's going to
Right.
naturally move with it.
Right. But if it's completely covering or attached to your cervix in any way, it will generally stay like it's going to be hard, and there might be bleeding as it pulls away. So they want you on pelvic rest. They want you, basically what I was doing workout wise got cut like drastically, if any. But for my sanity, I just found like I could not walk, I could not run, I could bike. So
Okay.
I got on the bike.
Biked a lot. We like a good bike ride.
Yeah, but I bled every single day of that pregnancy. And at 30 weeks, I started leaking amniotic fluid.
Yeah.
And ended up, in the hospital. So here I am, like I want to have a VBAC, but not only because the OBs are not favorable of VBACs in Alabama. I was already I was already researching and fully committed to like free birthing this baby. To here I am to this completely medicalized pregnancy. And they're doing ultrasounds on me every week. They're, just poking and prodding at me. And then I ended up leaking fluid. I ended up in the hospital on bed rest.
With more medical people just touching you and checking you and poking you and
for total worst nightmare. As someone that's like, what is this? What is happening? And is already, the whole obstetrical system, it's just like anything else. Like when your eyes have been open to it, it's just so backwards. To way like they view pregnancy almost as like a sickness, but it's not. It's the highest level of health I feel like you can achieve as a woman. And it's not a sickness. It is not something to be dealt with. It's something that it's a beautiful thing that we get to go through and get, to birth a baby is like the highest level of health.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's a whole nother tangent. But so I basically get ultrasounds daily. They're checking my fluid, and thankfully it was a high leak.
And this was 30 weeks, you said, right? 30
weeks.
30 weeks.
Yeah. So, and at the same time, like I just had this my husband and I had this overwhelming peace from God that like this was going to be okay. Like we didn't know what okay meant. Like that can still mean that you lose a child, but we just knew like it's going to be okay. Like in some form or fashion, like it was going to be okay. And that my my previa would move out of the way.
Yep.
And I just was going to be able to have a vaginal birth even. but all of this stuff keeps snowballing and happening. And they were, thankfully, it was a high leak. So I was chugging electrolytes and fluids. And I fully think because I was taking in like 150 to 200 ounces of fluid a day with electrolytes, that like my
Mhm.
fluid, it never dropped below like 8.5, which is
Oh, good.
still, yeah, it's still really good. And, but the ultrasounds and like everything, I was stuck in the hospital. My toddler's at home.
Yeah.
And thankfully for my mom and Tyler's mom, like taking care of him. But I was just thinking, like, if I'm about to birth this baby very soon, I've got to get out of here for my sanity.
Yes.
Yeah. So I signed out AMA and had like a week at home and I knew like stay in bed, because
Yeah.
anytime I get up, I'd be leaking more fluid.
Was
And
that a
like,
hard decision for you to make? To know and question and deal with the fact that everything felt like it was going wrong. Everything felt
oh yeah,
like it was a medical emergency and you didn't wanna be in the hospital, but you should stay in the hospital. So was that a very
yes.
difficult decision for you to make? And how I know, like, for your sanity, you were saying that you had to make that decision, but what did that feel like when you actually made the decision of essentially choosing to go get some freedom for a second, knowing that it was possible that something could happen to your baby?
Yeah, I guess I just was, yes, it's hard. And
Yeah.
but when I feel like I was in constant prayer and constant communication with my husband and the Lord, and just like we just like had this overwhelming peace. And because I had been monitored for 2.5 weeks in the hospital, and I had been given the steroids for her lungs, and I had been given the magnesium to try to like stop any labor that was going to happen. But like eventually all that was weaned off, and like all the markers and anything to suggest that anything was wrong, like, was not there.
Oh,
So
okay.
I
Mhm.
knew if I went home, and as long as like, we're not putting anything internal, like, to increase infection risk,
Mhm.
that and I'm monitoring my temperature, and I'm monitoring exactly how I feel, and
Yep.
I'm trying to get that constant communication with baby. Like, if anything felt off, we are 3 minutes from the hospital, and we can hopefully get back over there.
Yeah.
Um, but it was kind of like a thing, like, um, everything was checking out okay,
Mhm.
and I was monitoring my temperature like 3 times a day just to make sure I didn't have like any kind of spike, or and just like I'm very in tune with my body, just being an
Yeah.
athlete as well.
Yeah.
Like, if anything felt off, and there had been a few times like early on in the hospital stay that I was like, I feel terrible, like something's up. But it ended up like they had been giving me medicine, and it dropped my blood pressure, and just like certain things like that. So
Yep.
once we got in, like, everything calmed, and you know, I just felt like for my sanity, it was much better to get home and like just have some peace and some quiet, and just to be around my baby,
Yeah, just like I
that I
wanted
already
to just
have.
put my baby on my chest
Yes.
and
And I kept,
feel him
I kept
breathe, kick,
saying,
burp. I don't even care if
yes,
he throws up on me. Like, just
yes.
give me my baby. Yeah.
Well, you want, as much as you want a break and being a mother, like, that was excruciatingly painful, being away from him and just not doing his day to day, and not doing his, like making him a snack, or,
Mhm.
like, it was just the little things. Like, I would just cry to my husband and be like, as much as I wanted a break, I just want to be able to take care of him,
Yeah.
and just puts things in perspective. But,
Yeah, give him a bath
yeah,
and put him to bed and watch
yeah.
him fall down 100 times or watch him scrape his knees, like, and just wanna
Yes.
hug, like, all of those
Mhm,
things, like, you just
mhm.
really just want your baby, and it
Yeah.
really is as much as we're told and we believe that it's all for safety and it's all for comfort, a lot of it does feel like fear-based and that it's
Yes.
led with fear. And, you know,
Mhm.
mine wasn't to the severity that you're talking about, but they feared me into getting a flu shot
Right.
because when I was pregnant, and
Mhm,
I hadn't gotten a flu shot probably since I was like 17. So
mhm.
10 years I had not gotten a flu shot, and I was pregnant, and they said, well, you need a flu shot. And I was like, I don't get a flu shot. I'm going to get the flu. I don't need the flu shot. And they
Mm-hmm.
scare you and they say, well, it's not about you anymore. You have a child. Right. And if you get the flu, you could kill your child. And I couldn't stick out my arm fast enough.
Right. Exactly.
And I had just gotten over morning sickness, and I already had to succumb to the fact that I needed medication because I could not keep anything down. Nothing. I couldn't even keep water down. So I already had to succumb to the fact that I needed to be on medication so that I could at least nurture and feed and give my son water and hold fluids and raise him and keep him healthy. But now I just got over being sick, and you give me the flu shot and I'm back on my ass for 2 weeks because I have the flu. Right. And they scare you for that.
Yeah.
And they scare you for all of those things. And it's like, you don't you don't find too many people that are willing to have conversations with you. And that's why I believe that these type of conversations are so important, because if you have some people that are actually willing to meet in the middle of, like, I'm not saying I'm anti-medicine. I'm not saying I'm anti-doctor. No. I'm not saying I'm anti-hospital. I believe that there's a place for that. I'm also not saying that I want to go out into a woods somewhere and have to do it with nothing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's a place in the middle where we can have all of the information. Why is everybody so against giving everybody the whole truth? Just give it to me straight.
Yes. And that's the biggest issue I had with my first C-section, is that I was not given true informed consent.
Yeah.
And I will die on this hill, because he should have asked me, do you want children? Do you want more children?
Yeah.
Okay. Because a C-section, it puts off all the risk of this pregnancy onto your future children. Because there's a risk of placenta accreta. There's a risk of placenta previa. And accreta can be very deadly. And it's not a low risk.
Explain that.
Placenta accreta is where the placenta will attach to your uterine scar and embed itself.
Okay.
And it basically, they have to go in and extract and pull it off of your scar, but that can also rupture as well. So
because when it's attached, as the uterus grows and it stays attached to that scar, is it more likely for eruption? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And just terrible, terrible things happen.
Yeah.
But it puts off all that risk on your future children. And so that's why I say I fully believe that my previa was due to having the previous C-section. And he should have asked me, and he should have said, we should have sat down and had a conversation about C-sections, not, I want a live baby in the bassinet. That was not informed consent. It was not, what are the risks of doing that? What are the risks and the benefits of doing this? What are the risks and benefits of you going home, and let's ride this out, and let's see what your fluid is at 3 p.m. Let's see what your fluid is tomorrow.
It doesn't mean that you would have necessarily changed your mind. You might have said, I'm so terrified. I want to save this baby, and I'll deal with my future babies when it's time. But at least you had all of the information. At least you knew that you had everything. And then you could make that consent, that you could make that choice.
Yeah. And that's the vaccination even issue, is it's not even about pro-vax, anti-vax, whatever. Lay out the information, the risk and the benefits, the adverse reactions, lay out everything for a parent and let them make the decision, and not, oh, you have to get this because of this deadly childhood disease.
Right.
That is not medicine. That is not what the founding principles of medicine are. And so that's where I get real fired up about informed consent, because I wasn't given informed consent. And I've paid, my future pregnancies have paid for it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
We trust the doctors, and I've said this before, we trust the ones that came before us and the ones before them. And you just are like, oh, the doctor's going to tell you something, you believe what they say. Oh, this one's going to say this, you believe what they say. And, experiences that people have, you listen to those experiences. And, you have many people that say, listen, I couldn't get the drugs fast enough. I wanted to be out while I gave birth. I was never
Yeah.
going to have a home
Mm-hmm.
birth. And that's fine. Then you
Yep.
have ones that say that I want to have it at home and I really don't want to go to the hospital. And they're
Mm-hmm.
able to have it at home, or they sadly have to deal with the fact that maybe their body just wasn't able to naturally give them this baby at home, and something
Right.
happens, kind of like what you're saying, and you
Mm-hmm.
need to go to the hospital, and it just is what it is,
Yeah.
But it's this lack of, isn't it funny though that like we feel like still to this point there's a lack of information, and yet we are given so much information, but
Right.
not realizing that a lot of the information that you're given face value
Mm-hmm.
is generations of information that are not exactly correct information, or
Right.
the whole information. Whereas
Right.
if you're not interested in looking further into it, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I hear my own story and I hear your story and I hear other people's story, and I'm like, oh, I said nothing.
Yeah.
I said
Right.
nothing. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't think I had anything to say. I
Mm-hmm.
trusted the doctors of where I was. I trusted that when it was time to push, it was time to push. I trusted that they were making the right decision. I didn't realize that my son almost tore me through. They didn't tell me
Mm-hmm.
that, like
Yeah.
they didn't tell me that I didn't need to be laying in the bed the whole time,
No.
that
Yeah.
when my water was going to break, that they broke it for me, that they
Yeah.
weren't
Totally
going to,
wrong.
they're like, we can break your water. And I was like, oh, okay. What does that mean? And it was like, put your legs up, and they popped my water. And I was
Yeah.
instantly in
That
labor.
wasn't informed consent.
You
That
know,
wasn't. They told you we're gonna break your water.
they're like,
Yeah.
we can break your water. Do you want me to break your water? Or do you want to go home? And me, I'm like, well, I'm not going home. So whatever that looks like, fine,
Yeah.
whatever,
And the
you
problem
know?
too, not the problem with pregnancy, but your brain shifts so much. Even by the third trimester, you're in a totally different mindset. You're so vulnerable
And so
and
ready.
suggestible. Yes, and
Yes, so
suggestible
ready. Yes.
at the end. So even more so, if you have wishes and wants that your person knows
Yeah.
what you want, because it is so, you are so suggestible, and I feel like the providers have a way of wording things to where, like, oh, don't you want this, and don't you want that, and it's not, like I said, it's not informed consent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what does this look like? What if we did nothing? What if we,
Yeah.
what if we weighed all the options? What's going to happen if I let you break my water?
Yeah.
Because there's no going back at that point
No,
when
I
they
was in
break your
instant
water.
labor.
Yeah.
The minute he
Yeah.
broke my water, I was in
Hmm.
instant labor, and Garrett wasn't here
Yeah.
because she ran
And
home, because we didn't think that
yeah.
anything was going to happen. So she ran home to take care of the dogs, and I didn't pack a bag. So she got a couple things for me, and I texted her and I was like, they broke my water. She's like, I just left you. I
Hmm.
thought this was going to be like, get you settled, maybe
Yeah.
have you walk around a little bit more.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then whatever happens from there. No, probably 5 minutes after she left, my legs were up and they broke my water.
Right. I
You
mean,
know?
yeah, exactly. And I don't think most people know that, the drug in your epidural is fentanyl. So
And
that's,
mine wore
and
off. So I
yeah,
got
and,
fentanyl
but
literally for no
also
reason.
they'll tell you it doesn't go to the baby. It absolutely does go to the baby. Um, and I want more people to know that, because it does cross the placenta. It does go to your baby. And that's why a lot of babies will test positive for certain drugs after, when the mom's gotten an epidural. And like, that's not to shame anyone. I just want more people to know, like, there
Yeah.
are risks to this. There's a risk. There's a reason why babies brady out when you've got an epidural and their heart rate's dropping, because they're on fentanyl. Like, they're getting it as well. And so this cascade of things that happen in the hospital, like, they do it, like, to, oh, maybe this is at the benefit of, but it's not. Like, it is actually at the detriment, but they don't care if they have to go to a C-section. They don't
Yeah.
care. Like,
Yeah. They make more money.
honestly, they make more money from a C-section.
Mhm.
So if the baby Brady's out or has D cells, okay, fine, we'll just go to C-section. But they're not considering, like, I still to this day think that the birth of your children will be a day that you never forget for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
But to that physician, it is another baby in the
It's another
bassinet,
dollar. It's another dollar.
and they do not care how that happens as long as mom and baby are fine. Like, it's let's move on.
Yep.
But you will never forget your birth. Like,
Mhm.
you will never forget the birth of your children. And I think there's so much obstetric violence. I think the cervical checks are completely unnecessary, and it's completely violating. Now that I've been through that, because like my second birth, like I went through that, and I feel like I was basically like raped on the
Touched
table. Yeah.
constantly. Mhm.
Hmm. And it is not okay. Like, it is absolutely not okay. And husbands, or uh, any, protect your people, because
Mhm.
like that, yeah. And they're completely unnecessary. They just do it in the hospital because they want to like know where you're
See
at.
how far along you are. Yeah.
You don't have to have a cervical check to have a baby.
Absolutely.
It happens.
Absolutely resentment. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Like,
resentment. Yeah, because I didn't know
mhm,
that. I had
yeah.
no idea that I got an epidural and my epidural wore off, but it went completely to my
Mhm.
son.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
And
enraging to
people are
think
like,
that.
"Oh, they're just so sleepy the first week." And you're just like, "No, they are drugged." And I'm not
Mhm.
saying every baby's like that,
Yeah,
but and
Garrett
it's
wasn't like that, thank God.
and it yeah, and
But
it is a harsh reality sometimes. But
mhm.
my 34-week baby, I could not get her to wake up for weeks, and I fully believe that, because there was so much fear once I did go into labor, and I was
Mhm.
at 34 weeks. And so we went into the hospital, and, you know, I was in major pain, and they said I was a one.
Yeah.
And I'm still leaking, I'm still bleeding,
Yep. Yep.
Thankfully my placenta previa had moved, but like I still got, they checked me, I swear it was like I felt like every 15 to 30 minutes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
eventually get the epidural, and she starts having D cells, and we end up, in an emergency C-section that took them, they still gave me something to stop my contractions, and it was like 30 minutes before we ended up in the OR. So it's like it wasn't an emergency. But
CrossFit, was there
yeah.
any thoughts of jaundice or iron with low energy for
Uh
your baby? You were saying that your baby was you couldn't wake her up.
oh yeah, she definitely was jaundice.
Mhm.
But all mine have been to a certain extent. Hers was probably the worst because she was born at 34.5.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, that was a concern, but we were still getting her levels monitored, and so it was. But I
I
mean,
think it just
it
goes
definitely could have been. I just feel
yeah.
like she was, especially the 4 day. I think we were in the hospital for 4 days, and like I'm determined to breastfeed. Like, I'm do
Yeah.
not give my babies formula. But her, at one point, her blood sugar had bottomed out, and they were like, okay, you need to, like, we're gonna have to do something. And so they wanted me to like syringe feed her a little bit of formula, and they told me to give her like 25 cc's, and like her stomach is like this
This
big.
big. Yeah.
So, that they ended up having to put her on a dextrose strip for a few days, but
Mhm.
just because she, it wasn't going to come up. But
Right.
I'm gonna do everything I can to breastfeed my baby. So I was trying and doing everything that I could to like tickle her, wake her up,
Yep.
anything,
Yep.
strip her down, make her mad, and she just would not wake up. But I just know, I just feel in my gut that it was like partially because of the epidural as well. Like,
But
it's
again,
not
that
it's
goes
not all of it, but yeah.
yeah. Again, that goes to the
Mhm.
idea of just information. Just information.
Yes. Yes.
Again, it doesn't change the fact that if I knew, I still wouldn't have been like, "Listen, I'm in so much fucking pain, and this is
Mhm.
not like, I can't do this," but also they
Mhm.
kind of are like, "Hey, well, if you're gonna have this, you need to have this right now,
Yep.
because once we get past a certain point, you can't have this anymore." Without it didn't
Mhm.
really feel like encouragement, like, you could do this. Like,
Mhm.
as painful as it was, like, you could do this. It was more like, "Well, if you want it,
Yeah.
you better do it right now, because once you get to a certain point, you can't get it anymore." And
Yeah,
I
and
just think
mhm.
it's the conversations. We're missing the
Yes.
conversations of not anti anything, not against anything. Like things happen and you have to, I'm grateful for medicine and how far medicine has come from where it used to be,
For
but
sure. Yes.
information.
And like there was so much fear at the end of her pregnancy, like, and I know that now that like fear has zero place in childbirth.
Yeah.
And it can literally block all of your hormones from working in synchronicity and doing what it's supposed to do. And when there's fear, it blocks that. You can close your cervix can go from open to completely closed. I mean, we got to
Yeah.
think we're like other mammals. And when we're out in the wild, they want to go out and alone and birth. They're like, if they sense danger, they got to get up and run. So like
Exactly.
we're very the same way. And the more
Yeah.
I've studied like true physiological undisturbed birth, and I've learned more about birth, is that like we need that environment of like complete like no fear, absolutely no
Mhm.
fear, but
Mhm.
just love and support and quiet and alone and dark, you know,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
just go in like solidarity. And we need to like leave it alone. So the more people you have watching you, the more people you have in the room, like
Yep.
all of these things just disturb the whole process of birth.
Mm.
And like the pain, I know now that it is the hardest and the most awful pain that you ever go through, the hardest work you'll ever go through, but it serves a beautiful purpose in your body to like work with you and your baby, and you feed off each other and you move into the positions that you're supposed to be in. You're not supposed to be on your back
With your legs up.
strapped with your legs up. We're
Mhm.
supposed to have gravity and we're supposed to move, and it's supposed to be like not like a dance, but yes, it is a
Yeah,
dance with
swaying
you
of
and
the
baby.
hips. You hear
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm,
see so many people that it's
mm-hmm,
like, sway my hips,
mm-hmm.
put pressure on my hips, just hold my stomach up, for all of those little things that kind of take away the pressure of it, but
Yep.
allowing gravity to help you.
Yes.
I mean,
And
I did
like,
none of that.
mm-hmm, yeah.
I walked for an hour because I was like, I think I'm in, like, something is
Mm-hmm.
wrong. I felt like something was wrong. And I'm like, I'm not going to be okay unless I get physically examined. Like, just
Yes.
feel like something's wrong.
Yes.
Again, I had no trust in my body. It took me forever to get pregnant. My pregnancy was very
Yes.
difficult. I ended up having to be on medication. Like I was just not trustworthy
Yes.
of my body. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, something is going on. I'm getting towards the end. It was a couple days before his due date. I'm like, I need to go get
Mm-hmm.
examined. Went to the hospital, had to wait anyways because the doctor was in surgery and stuff like that. So Garrett and I are walking around, we're dancing, we're having fun. All of a sudden, my pain kind of starts to subside. I'm like, oh, this was a waste. Like, I'm not in labor, nothing's going on, and whatever. Got the exam. He said that I had dilated a full centimeter because remember, I was also on bed rest. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like scared about that. And now I'm on bed rest. So
Yep.
he's like, you've dilated a full centimeter. Most likely, this baby's going to come about 4 o'clock in the morning. You can go home or you can stay here. Again, I'm fearful. I'm in complete panic. I'm not
When
going
like, how
home.
does he even know that? He does not know that. Like,
I mean, he was accurate. Garrett
yeah,
came at
well,
4
okay,
something in
well,
the morning.
yeah, but
But
I mean, I'm just
again,
saying,
how does
like,
he know that? Yeah.
right, you
Like,
don't
how does
know
he know
that. Like,
exactly
just
that? And
for
so,
some of these things these doctors say, I'm like, what?
yeah, I'm like,
Okay.
I mean, hey, like I said, he was pretty accurate. He came at
Yeah.
4:28 when I had him. And I was like, oh, I guess he kind of is really good. He's been doing this for a long time. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's like, I was up and moving, but the minute that I was like, I'm not going home, I'm gonna stay here, I was in that bed until I had my son.
Yeah.
I was not up walking. I was not up. There was no bouncy ball. There was no trying to get on all fours. There was no Garrett and I walking or dancing, nothing. I literally was
Yep.
in that bed from the minute that they broke my water until I
Oh
had
yeah.
our son. And they broke my water, I think at like 6 o'clock
Yep.
at night. And I was in that bed until we had him.
Oh
And
yeah.
then I tore, and then because I tore so bad, I was I got up to go to the bathroom because they're like, we can't move you out of the delivery room until you can go to the bathroom in case
Mm-hmm.
the stitches come out and you bleed and whatever. So now I'm still sitting in the bed. And then I got up and I finally went to the bathroom, and then they put me in the room, and then I was in the bed. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I was in so much
But I
pain.
mean, true too. Like, not. I'm not saying that a hospital is not a place to have to give birth,
Yeah,
because it absolutely is. But
absolutely.
when you walk through those doors, you will probably be on that bed
Mm.
because they can control you.
Uh-huh.
They can contain you there. They can do all the things that they need to do to get you in and out.
Yep.
Okay. It's like a system. It's just, a revolving door. And they're not considering that the birth of your baby will be the most precious day of your life.
Yeah.
And the birth of your baby means everything to you.
Mhm.
They're just like, they're trying to get people in and out. They're trying to do their job too. And so if they can keep you on the bed, then yeah, like, I mean, I can get all my charting done. I can,
Yep.
it's there's so much that goes into it. And I'm not saying it's not a place to give birth, because I do know that there are some people that can walk up into a hospital and say, leave me alone
Yeah.
and do not come in here unless I need you.
Yeah.
Because that would be the best scenario.
Yeah.
But
Listen, let me
most
tell you
people,
something. If
yeah,
we do this
yeah,
again, I know
hmm
way different. Let me
oh
walk
yeah,
around. Let me move. Like,
hmm
stop touching me. Everything is fine. Like,
yes,
yeah. And I even said to Garrett, I was like, if we ever do this again, I was like, I want to stay home a little bit longer. I'm like,
oh for
until it
sure,
really feels like that, obviously I can say that because I'm not
hmm
pregnant and I don't know what kind of pregnancy I would have, but you can always say things like that. But at least I
yeah,
know,
yes,
hey, I need to get up for a minute. Like I cannot sit
no,
in this bed and be in this
yeah.
bed from the moment that my water breaks until I deliver this child. Like
Well, no,
I
and
need
I
to
mean,
get
who
up,
knows if you would have stayed upright, you could have had the baby in like 2 hours. I'm not saying you would have.
I
I'm
could
just
have
saying
though.
like you could have for
I could
sure.
have.
And
And
I
I could
think
have not tore.
yeah, and like one of my favorite physicians, so it's a Birthing Instincts podcast, but it's Dr. Stuart Fishbein, and he
Mhm.
was a practicing physician in California, and he eventually moved to like supporting midwives,
Mhm.
and so now he does home births, and he moved to that model like I think 13 years ago, and so he does twins and breech at home.
That's crazy to me. I just
Yeah,
realized that because Sevon said that
yeah, yeah,
when we talked to him or
yeah.
whatever. I was like, wait,
hmm
Haley had them both at home?
Yes, yeah.
Because the minute
So,
you hear
mhm,
twins, you immediately are told, well, you might as well just get a C-section because you can't deliver two babies.
which is completely false.
And
Like
I'm like,
anybody that's having anybody that's having twins that their doctor has said that they need an immediate C-section, you need to run and find another physician that
yeah.
is trained. There are physicians and midwives who are trained in breech and in twins. And
Mhm.
because you want them trained in breech because most likely one of the twins will be breech
Yeah.
or if not both.
Yeah.
And so there are and this physician that I love to follow, he travels the world teaching breech conferences like to midwives. So he teaches how to support breech birth and do like any kind of maneuvers, say the baby needed some help coming out.
Mhm. Mhm.
And do the babies follow these same maneuvers every
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
so yeah, he trains midwives and anybody that wants to go to do and be like able to deliver breech,
Yeah.
and support mothers. And that's like if 5% of all people are going to have a breech baby, like that's a variation of normal, and we
Yeah.
should be supporting that and not go to an automatic C-section.
Yeah.
I just they're not teaching it in medical school anymore, which is it is so sad to me because our C-section rate in the US is already 35%, I think, and climbing, meaning one in every three people will have a C-section. And
Mhm.
like I said, you're putting off the risk for future pregnancies and these,
Yeah.
and our infant mortality rate is still so bad. It's one of the worst in the world, and it's climbing. So if we're seeing increase in C-sections, we should be seeing improvements in maternal mortality and infant mortality, and we're
Mhm.
not.
Wow.
So there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a big problem. And so if your provider tells you that, I would run the opposite direction and go find somebody that is trained
Mm.
and in breech and twins. I would find a provider that's trained in that anyways because they're probably
Yeah.
going to be more up to supporting a physiological birth anyways. You know, it's just yeah, it's sad to me. But it was very important when I went so when I got pregnant again, we had this risk of everything
That happened
happening.
before. Mm-hmm.
So we knew going in, like before we got pregnant, we said, okay, like we're going to have to give this to the Lord. First of all, I mean, we're in his hands anyways, but like we have to take on the risk of like this whole nightmare could happen again. And we have to be willing to, and it was more important for us to have a child.
Right.
Than to, not
have one.
to go through, to go through all of that again. We would have gone through all of it again. And so I got really passionate about free birth and really looked into it. And
tell us about it.
Really passionate about physiological birth and like what does that look like? Like a completely natural, undisturbed birth. And really, the more I dove down that, and my husband as well, like the VBAC laws in Alabama are terrible, or not laws, but like midwives cannot support VBACs at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I couldn't have a midwife that would be there. And in some states it is legal, but it's just not here. And so we just decided to get super educated about birth and all things birth. And I think that's what people are thinking, like, oh, you had your baby at home. That's so ignorant. And I'm like, it's completely the opposite.
Yeah.
We trained in everything that we could train in. And we knew if things were to go wrong, this is what it's going to look like. And we were completely educated about every situation, scenario, and what that would look like. So that by the time I did go into labor, like,
you were ready.
We're ready. And back to the pain thing on so my second, I didn't go into labor with my first, so I didn't know what contractions felt like, but with my second I did. And I had so much fear come up. And so when I did start having like real intense contractions, I just kept thinking like, oh, something's wrong. And that sent me to the hospital. Like that made me want to go in and like make sure everything was okay. So I don't know if it was God or who placed it on my heart, but it was just like, it's probably going to feel like that again. Okay. So I had to like fully accept that this was going to be unbearable and this was going to break me. But like, it's almost supposed to do that. Like, and so when the pain starts feeling like that again, like you're probably close. You're probably, like, and like because of the research that I'd done, like all of that, I'm working in unison with the baby. And like this pain, we're going to have pain in childbirth. Like the Bible talks about that. Like it's going to be painful, but for the joy of a human being being born, for the joy that you'll feel. So it was like, I knew, okay, that pain is going to come and it's probably going to feel like my last one. But instead of fear this time, I'm going to try not that I'm going to try to lean into it, but I'm just going to know that this is normal.
Yeah.
And no matter how long it takes, because with my second, I kind of labored all night. And by like 6 a.m., I was just exhausted and like felt like something was wrong. So then the fear took over. We went in. Yeah. So with this one, I was like, okay, I'm in it. Like I don't care how long.
I'm here.
But like I'm doing this, and I know that this is, as long as everything is checking out and we're doing good, like I'm at home and I'm birthing this baby here. And so, went into labor at like, well, I would say I felt a trickle at like 9:30 p.m. And because of my last pregnancy, when I started to like, when I was leaking, I was like, what does that feel like? And so I went to pee again because I was thinking, well, maybe, I don't know.
I just got to pee. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, I went to pee again and didn't really think anything about it, but I laid in bed and like felt another little something. I was like, I know what that is. And I jumped up real quick and I started like, it started going down my leg, and it wasn't a big gush, but like I knew that from last time. It doesn't have to be a big
gush for it to be.
my husband was asleep, but yeah, I went into labor I immediately had a contraction
Mm.
right then, and that was about like 9:45, and she was born at 2:56 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
And at home. And yeah, I mean, I would say it was like so painful. Like it was
Yeah.
the hardest work. But at the same time, like your body, these contractions, you go through breaks and like you go through these little, you have a contraction, but I feel like, you know, by the time I woke my husband up, probably like 1 a.m., they were kind of on top of each other and I was feeling
Yep.
kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I was almost afraid and hesitant to wake him up because I knew like you do kind of want to be alone and like who you have in your birth space is very important. So if you're not completely just comfortable with this person, it can just totally, it can throw you off and you
Oh
feel like
yeah.
you
Hmm.
feel like you got to entertain somebody, or you feel like, they're not going to be able to handle this. But like as soon as like I woke him up, I just felt like a big sigh of relief. And like then he just shot up out of bed because I think he heard me. And
Hmm.
and I was like, "Yep, this is happening."
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Like we're here.
yeah, and he got up and like started getting things ready and
Hmm.
getting all the towels in the floor and whatever we needed. But
Yeah.
my body just took over and
That's
started
new.
pushing and knew, and like it happened. Like there was no stopping it. I was gonna push the baby out no
Mm.
matter what, and like I was glad I waited for like the Ferguson reflex, which is like your body just like involuntarily pushing.
Hmm.
But and it's I pulled her up and out, and we didn't know the gender at the time, and
Oh,
found
you
out it
guys
was a girl.
waited. Love
Yes.
that. I love that.
So found out she was a girl, and I just felt like, oh, of course, like she had just been with us all along, and it was like the most magical experience of my life.
Yeah.
And I am so passionate about it now that like I want everyone to experience that like euphoria and that high. Not just
Hmm.
saying you don't experience it, but like it was completely different than my other two.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
uh
No, I was in so
and
much pain. They put the
yeah.
baby on my chest and I was,
Hmm.
I tell Garrett all the time, and this is the hardest part for me is like I don't remember much about the birth other than it was so fucking painful after I had him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Of
Because I
course.
was
Yeah.
being stitched up and constantly touched and I'm trying to move away. I'm just like, "Stop touching me." And of
Yes.
course they can't because I I'm
Yeah.
bleeding a
Yeah.
ton.
Yeah.
So he's on my chest and I have a picture of him. He does latch immediately, so I have him for a couple minutes, but then the doctor was like, "She needs to sit still. I need to sew her back up, like, she's bleeding a lot." And so
And
they ended up
but
taking.
they hijacked that experience, or that they hijacked that moment
Yeah,
from me.
yeah, and
Like,
so,
yeah,
they gave the baby to Garrett, and Garrett got to have that first moment with him and stuff like that as they were stitching me up, but it's like, I didn't have that. I was glad that he was out, but I was in so much fucking pain. I was in so much pain, and
yeah,
it
and
sucks,
you
you
still
know?
have like still like the epidural. I mean, that still stuff is running through your
Yeah,
body, and like
yep.
I feel like you're just but like I said, I'm so passionate. Like I want women to like be informed and like know like this is available for you too.
Yeah, yeah.
And
If you want it, it's there.
yes, and
If
like
you
the
don't,
pain,
that's okay, but at
yeah.
least it's there, and you
And
have
like
the
the
opportunity
pain
for it.
serves such a beautiful purpose, I
Yeah.
promise. Like, and the baby is like, you're working together, but like they feel that too. And you need that constant feedback. As soon
Mhm.
as you get that epidural, your communication with baby is completely cut off.
Yeah,
So
because
you
then they
don't
pump
have
you
this
of
synchronicity.
Pitocin to
Hmm.
keep you going, and then it slows down, so they put more Pitocin to keep it going, and they're like, "When you feel a push, push." I was like, "I don't feel a push." They're like, "Well,
Yeah.
the monitor is telling me that you're in a contraction right now." I'm like, "I don't fucking feel that."
Yeah.
Even
It's
when
just,
even when
yeah.
the epidural wore off and I could feel the pain, I could feel the pain of being
Yes.
in labor. They're like, "Do you feel a contraction? Push." And I was like, I don't know the difference between pain, just straight
No.
pain and a contraction because I
Yeah.
haven't felt anything for, the little bit that I didn't feel, but I felt pressure the whole time because I had a stupid catheter in.
Right.
So I
Exactly.
felt the
Yeah.
pressure and how uncomfortable it was that I had a catheter in the whole time, you
Yeah.
know?
It's just,
So
I just feel like, yeah, and that's so this your story is
Yeah.
so many women's stories.
Yeah.
Like, and that's such, like, I think even the first conversation we were having, how like beautiful it is to be a mother and to stay at
Yeah.
home and to nurture and raise your
Yeah.
children.
Mhm.
I think that starts in utero, like
Yeah.
that, and I feel like the way we birth is so important, and that starts this can start this cascade of like detached motherhood as well,
Yeah.
because we are robbed of this experience. And so,
Mhm.
whether subconsciously or consciously, we are outsourced from the very beginning. And
Mhm.
we're showing up at 8 weeks pregnant, and the doctor's telling you exactly how your birth is going to go and that what they're going to do, what
Mhm.
this is going to be.
Yep.
And so much is outsourced that like we carry that into motherhood,
Yeah.
and we don't know how to be,
Yep.
versus like if we returned. And I think, not that I would say like I wish more women would naturally birth, but like yes, like it can come back to this like being in sync with your baby and like
Mhm.
talking to them, nurturing them, and like
Yep.
I feel like it's just so outsourced versus like I don't feel like we need 17 OB appointments to have a baby. Like I said, like we're meant to do this. This is the highest level of health as a woman that you could
And
ever
and
go
mothers
through.
get
Yeah.
concerned when some doctors say, "You don't need to come see me every 2 weeks. I'll see you." This
They
They
Yeah,
get
because
nervous because they're
it's
like,
been sold, this lie has been
"Yes,
sold, like, "Oh, you need to have a baby, you need to have an ultrasound every 2 weeks, and you need to peek on that baby, and you need to
and make
check."
sure it's okay."
Mhm.
I mean, I have a lot of pictures of Garrett because I was at a specialist because I had to go to a specialist.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I have pictures of him where he is like we used to call him a gummy bear
yeah.
because he looked like a little gummy bear with his little
Yes,
hands and his little feet, you know?
yeah.
And we have those ultrasounds, but once I actually got to the OGB, they were like,
Mhm.
"Well, I'll see you in a couple months." I was like, "What do you mean a couple months? I've been
Right.
seeing my son." This is
Yeah,
before we knew it was a boy. Like, I've been seeing my kid every week since I
right,
got
and
pregnant.
there's not definitive like,
Yeah.
there are studies out there that, like, that it's not just a little probe on your belly too, like, it's actually heating
Yeah.
your amniotic fluid, and
Yep,
it
and
can
changing stuff
changing
and
stuff. So there are studies out there that's
yep.
like, this is
Yeah.
probably not the greatest thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
And it could be in 30 years they figure out like this is causing harm. This is
Right.
causing
Right.
XYZ for our children. And so
Mhm.
like I went into this third pregnancy, like I wanted the least, obviously I wanted an
You wanted to
anatomy
be
scan.
touched the least. You
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I wanted an anatomy scan just because I did want to know that my placenta was not in the wrong place, or like not
Of
the wrong
course.
place, but like I
Yeah.
wanted it to make sure it was out of the way. But my appointment with my OB was very telling about who she is. But um, she said, "Well, what are you thinking for birth?" Because here I am, I've had two C
Yep.
sections, and I was like, "Well, I'm having a VBAC," and she was like, "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea." Um, and I was like, "Well, I am." So like that's
Mhm.
what, as I said, as long as everything's going good, like I'm gonna have a
Right.
VBAC. And
Unless there's a huge
well,
medical emergency.
right.
This
She
is my
said,
plan.
"Well, you'll need to come in the second you start having contractions, and you're gonna need to get an epidural, and because anything could happen, and we would have to rush you back for a C-section. It was really good to have an epidural placed." And just like all this, her fear is coming up.
Yep.
Okay. And, I know what I know now. And, I was just like, well, that's fine. And then she immediately wanted me to go to a doctor an hour away because they kind of like are VBAC friendly.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank
And,
you.
and yeah. And I was
Appreciate you.
like, okay, but I'm not driving an hour while I'm in
Mhm.
labor. Like
Mhm.
I'm not going somewhere else to have a baby.
Right.
And she was like, "Well, I just don't know. Like, I'm really slow with surgery, and like, I'd just be really more comfortable if you just had that
That's
epidural
that's
place
not
and
my
everything."
problem. That's
And
my
then she
problem.
made a few comments, and I was like, "Oh, you're not trained in breech." And she was like, "Oh
Mhm.
no, no, we do not do that." And I was like, "Okay."
Mhm.
And I
I
knew,
heard all I need to
yeah.
hear. Yep.
And then like, I brought up the gestational diabetes test, not to say that that's not like a concern for some people, but like,
Hmm.
it's not a concern for me at all. Like, I work out, I take care of myself, I eat good. My first level, like when my first pregnancy was like really low, like low even.
Hmm.
And so, he didn't like my, with the second pregnancy, I didn't want to do the test. And so they said, okay. So, and I told her, I was like, well, the one that I would do would be the fresh test because, like, no one's consuming that amount of sugar in just one sitting. Like, it's just
Right.
completely unnatural without, like, protein.
Right.
And not to mention, like, the preservatives and crap they put in that, like,
Yeah.
the glucola test. And so I was like, I would do the fresh test. And she was like, well, you can do that. And I was like, well, but I'm probably not going to do it.
Yeah.
And she just like scoffed and, like had a bunch to say about that. So I was like, okay, I'm not going back. Like, I just told my husband, I was like, I laughed. And I mean, not to mention, she was three hours late for the
Yeah.
appointment. I had a babysitter at home with my kids, and like I had no feedback from the office, like telling me like, oh, she's in emergency surgery.
Nothing.
Like,
Hmm.
yeah, it was just no consideration for this appointment. So I was like, okay, I feel good. I feel like if something were to go wrong, like
Yep.
I'll go in and get
Yep.
something monitored. But like I just knew like I'm not going back. I'm not going
No.
back for this.
No.
Yeah.
After
I will
that kind of
not
situation. Yeah.
participate. I will not participate in this system. I'm
Yep.
sorry. Like I'm
Yeah.
not, when my baby and me we can be one and we can, do this together. So,
Right. Yeah. No, and that takes a lot of courage and a lot of permission for
mhm.
yourself to just be like, you know what? I have a lot of questions. And
Yeah.
I am also going to hold very firm in my beliefs and what I feel. And that takes courage. And I think that not everybody has that. Not everybody believes that they
No.
can have
Yeah.
that. When it comes to what our body needs, what's natural, and how do we
Hmm.
advocate for ourselves when we feel like that people aren't listening. And I think that
Yes.
the fertility conversation, the OGB conversation, I think is or I'm hopeful that maybe it's slowly starting to be, with new interest in midwives and doulas and that kind of
Yes.
stuff where they work with the OGB. I've heard stories where they have both. They have an
Hmm.
OGB, but they also
Yeah.
have their midwife and their doula, and they, really refer and tell their OGB that like my doula or my midwife is going to take point on this, and
Hmm.
you're there for conversation, you're there for
Hmm.
consulting, and if we need you,
Hmm.
then you're there. And I
Yeah.
feel like with some stories that is starting to be that mix and that
Yes.
blend between the two, because at the end of the day, if you're telling me that you care about the birth of a child and you care about the experience of the mother, then it takes more than just one side to figure out what that is. And so I
Yeah.
love hearing stories. I talked to a woman, she's a pelvic floor therapist, and
Hmm.
she's very big in this. Her name is Sarah Black. And so I was
Okay.
talking to her. She was on one of my other shows, and I'm going to have her back again, talking about this process of like working together,
Hmm.
and talking with midwives and getting her hands on mothers to support their pelvic floor, before birth, or
Yes.
like during pregnancy, before birth, during birth, after birth, and like helping a woman get through the entire process of, going through birth, and
Yes.
so it's very important for her to be a part of that. And she's given me hope that there is starting to be that communication between both sides of like, hey, we both want the same thing.
Hmm.
We both want mom and baby to be healthy, and we want to do this in the best way that's for the mom.
Yeah.
With obviously, again, it's not anti anything. It's not anti
Yes.
OGB. It's not anti
No.
hospital. They are there for a reason. They are there
Absolutely.
for a reason, very differently than they were generations and decades ago, where you hear
Hmm.
so many stories of women dying from birth. But now we
Yeah.
have so much more support, and we're still
Hmm.
experiencing women dying from birth, or babies dying from birth.
Yes.
And why is that? Why?
Right.
So it opens up the conversation, and there should be no taboo around being able to open up the conversation and be curious as to why that's happening.
Yes.
So with
Yes.
more conversation, I feel like that we can just be better.
Yeah, and I would love. I mean, in our state, it's the midwives, and yeah, it's a terrible situation. So like,
Yeah.
there's no, like, there's really, the doctors don't want midwives, and they still view them as like witches, and
Yeah. Yeah.
like, it is crazy. And that's why, like, I toyed around with the idea of getting my midwifery license,
Oh,
because
wow.
it,
Mm-hmm.
but what I've found is that they're very regulated by the OBs, and so,
Oh,
and the laws are just terrible here.
yeah.
So it's just, until there's a ton of reform, or like, more, like you said, like, working together,
Yep.
and the OBs viewing it as a benefit and not something that's
Yes.
like fighting against them.
Yes.
Like, that's the problem. And so, like, but I would still consider myself, like, at this point, I am a traditional birth keeper. So I want to
Mhm.
support women at home. Does that mean I'm licensed? No, but like, I still want to support you in your physiological birth, and
Yeah.
or natural home birth, if
Yep.
you want that.
Yep.
And I do think, like, all of the stuff that I've said, I just wish I knew this
Me
when I
too.
was pregnant.
Me too.
And
Yep.
is it on me for not knowing, and not knowing that it existed, and just blindly trusting the physicians to begin with? Yes, absolutely. But like,
Absolutely.
but how many millions of other women are in the same boat that
Yeah.
don't know this as well? And so, I want women to know that, like, your birth can look like your dream.
Yeah.
Like, it can.
Yep.
And will that set you up for better motherhood? I mean, there's no guarantees, but yes. Like,
Hmm.
to me, like, how we birth is like how we're gonna live. And so, I want
Yeah.
this, like, I just want more women to be educated, like, this is available to you. Like, I've seen both sides of the coin, and
Yeah.
I've had both sides of it, and I will choose to, as long as, everything is healthy and going good, like,
Yeah.
let's return it to our mammalian physiology, and let's return birth to that. And I'm telling you, it will set you up for future success in motherhood as well.
Yeah, and I think that that's
Yeah.
really important. These conversations isn't blame. This conversation isn't like, oh, it's just their fault. I take complete accountability for the fact too. I read all the books that I
Mhm.
thought I was supposed to read before I had a kid, before
Mhm.
I gave birth and whatever, and I missed a lot of information. And that's
Yeah.
really all that we're saying is that is there accountability for all parties involved? Absolutely. Do we feel
Mhm.
like that doctors and medical should give more information? 100%. I had a conversation with a really good friend of mine that experienced birth control for over 20 years, and they didn't explain to her what could happen. And she experienced, and again, I only share this because she's very
Mhm.
public about it.
Yeah.
She experienced multiple miscarriages and how awful the medical professionals
Yes.
were for her miscarriages, and said, oh, you have to have one more miscarriage. You have to have 3 miscarriages before we even step in to support you. And so, like, all we're saying is that we all need to take accountability, and we all need
Mhm.
to do better, and we all need to
Yeah.
learn some more. So this isn't like a judgment on, oh, it's just their fault. No, I
No,
wish
it's
I
not.
knew more. I
Mhm.
wish I knew more. I wish
Yeah.
I educated myself more. And that's why now I do. And by doing that, that's why
Yeah.
conversations are so important to me. And having these very women conversations of what we
Mhm.
go through and what we didn't know and what we could learn from each other. And I just think it's so important to have these type of conversations of being women and being moms, and how do we navigate this and all this type of stuff. And Bernie Gannon, MBGA, make birth great again. Don't ask me to pronounce
Yes.
it. I will not ask you
Yes.
to. I will not
For
ask you
sure.
to do
Make
that.
birth
Yeah.
great again.
Yeah.
But, and like, I'm not saying I know better than OBs. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, like, I have done a lot of research, and I've
Yes.
experienced a lot of things now, and
Hmm.
it has opened my eyes to a lot. And I have other OBGYNs who have stepped out of the system and have said,
You
this
hear
is
that
what's
so much.
happening.
Right.
Yes. This
So
is
it
what's happening.
makes
Yeah.
us not feel
Yeah.
so crazy of you have the professionals that
Right.
are going through
Hmm.
the schooling that are also
Hmm.
starting to question, but isn't that what that's for?
Yeah. Right.
Isn't
Yeah.
medicine supposed to constantly be questioned so that it constantly can evolve?
That is science. So I get mad when,
Isn't
like, people
it?
are saying,
Right?
trust the science, when you're saying the point of science is to ask questions. And
Yes.
I get on like a soapbox about like the vaccine situation, where it's
Mhm.
like, it is not pro-vax, anti-vax. It is, why are we seeing this increase in chronic disease in children?
Yeah.
And if you're not asking yourself these questions,
Right.
like we have to be asking questions like, what is causing this?
Yeah.
What, like, it's not about either side of the fence. It's
Right.
about like our children are the sickest they've ever been and
Why
things
is
are
that?
happening. And why
Mhm.
is that? And if it
Yep.
was better diagnosis of like autism or whatever, we would see it in the older generations, but we don't. We're
Mhm.
seeing it in children. So
Yeah.
it's like, why are these things happening? And like,
Yeah.
that is science, asking questions and
And
then
that's being a
having the
parent.
studies to back it up.
And it's being a
Yeah.
parent.
Yes.
Constantly
Yeah.
questioning and constantly asking questions as to why things are,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
if we're not able to do that, what are we actually setting our kids up for?
When that goes back to as soon as you get pregnant and you go down the OBGYN route, not saying it's a bad
Mhm.
thing. I'm
Yep.
saying be very careful who you outsource your information or your body to,
Yeah.
because they will immediately make you question everything from that
Yeah.
first appointment. Okay, so say you show up at 8 weeks and you know, like from your dates of conception, that you are 8 weeks or 8 weeks and 1 day, whatever.
Mhm.
They'll do an ultrasound, say it comes back 8 weeks and 2 days, which the first ultrasound can be the most accurate. But you will have probably calculated your due date, which is still a calculation. It can be
Mhm.
off, 2 weeks either way,
Mhm.
or 2 or 3 weeks. But they will put your due date what that ultrasound showed, versus if you knew your conception date, like you knew, they will. So they are out. They are swooping the rug out from under you from the very beginning. And I'm telling you, that carries over into motherhood when you can just like that can just happen. And
Yep.
like you become a passive mother versus like if we're like really in tune with baby and we're like, you know, take time for pregnancy to like slow down and like tune in with your baby. What are they telling you? And
Yep.
you come out of birth and you're empowered versus like you've been poked and prodded and basically raped. And I'm telling you, like, it is just a different scenario. And you come out of motherhood and you're empowered and you're supported uh, because you've tuned into baby and you've taken the time
Right.
and you're not letting anybody undermine who you are. You come out so different on the other side.
Yep.
Um, and you're empowered to be a mother. Like,
Yep.
so that's like, I just want to, like, I just try to encourage and help mothers, especially those that are pregnant, like, tune into you, tune into your baby. Like, what is
Yep.
your baby telling you? Like,
Yep.
don't let anyone else tell you what you're feeling or
Yeah.
try to fear you into XYZ, because that's not natural. And you know what is natural that happens every single day? People having babies. And like that's a natural thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
It's as natural as pooping. And our
Listen.
body, like it
Yeah.
will happen. I'm telling you, if you leave it alone, it will happen. And it's a normal process. It's not like something to pathologize.
Mhm.
It's but like OBGYNs are taught to see sickness or something wrong. If they go poking and prodding, especially late in pregnancy, which I tell all mothers, do not have the late trimester ultrasound unless something is terribly wrong. Go to one of those like 4D ultrasound boutiques and let them, like, if you want to peek at baby, go to like a 4D ultrasound thing. If you go to your OBGYN, they're probably, yeah, oh no, like,
Yep. Go to
what's that?
someone outside the office.
Yeah.
Don't go to the office.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
what are they gonna find? Because 'Cause they're trying to find something,
Yep.
you know? So, and for the most part, things go right if we let them, like, if we just
Right.
let it happen, it will go right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sarabeth, you're amazing. It's been an hour and a
Oh,
half.
thank
I don't
you.
wanna
I
keep you
know.
any
No, you're
longer.
fine.
But this is an amazing conversation, one of many that I would love to invite you to come
Yes.
back and
Yeah,
chat with
absolutely.
me about, so hang tight.
Anytime.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys so much. Jeremy, CrossFit, Jan, Jake, Bernie, Kenneth, 5 a.m., Whitney. Do you know a Whitney Davis? Miss Whitney
Yes.
Davis. She's married to an awesome dude who would be fine with her staying home with her baby. So thank you
Oh, yes.
for hanging out with us, Matthew, Joseph, Meg, everybody. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and we'll be back on
And
again.
if you need any help with birth or pregnancy or
Reach
CrossFit,
out.
lifting, whatever, please reach out.
Yes, absolutely. You can
Yeah.
absolutely find her. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. See ya. Bye.
Bye.